Hey, Mama, welcome back to the show. I'm Brooke Jean, your host, and I'm so happy and grateful that you are here. This week's conversation feels like a really important one. My friend Alex Harrison is a licensed clinical social worker and therapist who has spent the last 15 years helping couples and families find better ways to do life together. As both a step family coach and a card carrying member of the Bonus Mom Club, she helps people build connection, calm the chaos, and develop the skills that truly work in blended family life. You guys, this woman has made it her life's mission after going through a divorce and blending a family during COVID to really learn the research and the patterns and the methods that help families actually blend. And I feel like this is such a relevant topic. And honestly, some of the information that she shared in this conversation, I so wish I would have had 22 years ago when I was first bringing Tony into our little family dynamic. We talk about common traps that step parents fall into. We talk about healthy boundaries. We talk about how to get your needs met. We talk about should we spend quality time with our kids and let them spend quality? I mean, all of it. And I'm for sure going to bring her back because we barely scratched the surface of all of the information that I want to pick her brain on. I love how real she is. I love how clinically sound she is. I love her sense of humor. And she's also got a group that she's starting in October. So if you are a step parent, and you have been struggling to blend your family, and I know if you're a step parent, you're like, yep, that's me. You definitely want to listen to this episode. I hope you guys enjoy. Hey, babe, I'm Brooke Jean, licensed therapist, coach, mama, and your straight talking guide to ditching the pressure and living a life unperfected. I've coached some of the top C-suite women in America, women leading billion-dollar companies while secretly falling apart. I've been her. I blend psychology, neuroscience, and energetics with lived experience to help high-achieving women actually heal so that they can access their infinite energy, creativity, and vitality. If you're a perfection-obsessed woman who's checked every damn box, career, family, house, 401k, but still feels low-key dead inside, you're in the right place. Here, we rip off the good girl mask, call out the BS, and build a life that actually feels like yours. We talk healing, we talk revealing, we talk rising, and we do it raw, real, and unfiltered. This is the Unperfected Pod. Well, welcome back, everybody. Alex, I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Hey, I'm happy to be
Hey.
here.
Yes, we have known each other for most of my therapist career. And I came across on social media that you were doing the blended family coaching. And I was like, okay, I need to reconnect with her. And so we recently got together and had an epic coffee date. And it feels like not even a day went by. And I'm like, I need this queen in my world. So I'm so glad that we're connecting here today because the work that you do is so needed. And I feel like we just don't have enough resources around it. So let's get into it. Why don't
All
we?
right, let's do it. Yeah.
Okay, so I tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into it because there's always a juicy story behind the how we got it, especially as therapists,
Oh,
right?
of course, of course. I mean, I have been working with families and couples really for the last 15 years, and I love my job as a therapist.
Mhm.
It feels like what I was born to do.
Mhm.
And I always have a lot of energy for it. And you know, I've worked with couples, worked with families in a lot of capacities, and it's just, well, I got married when I was very young. I was 22. I was like a
Oh,
baby. Like
wow.
Southern
Wow.
normal to get married. I'm from South Carolina. Like that's like right in the pocket, but that's like Denver, like child marriage,
Yeah.
like child bride, right?
I was going to say that is like not how we do it
Yeah,
here in
no, not
Colorado.
out here in the
Not
West.
not
But
the
in any
younger
case, I got
generation.
married really young, before I became a therapist. I had 2 kids. I had my first kid when I was 25. Yeah.
Okay.
So I started parenting pretty young, and I was married for 15 years. Most of those were really good years.
Mm,
And then I went through a divorce.
mm,
And when I got divorced, I mean, like most of us who have gone through this process, it's a world rocker. I mean, it just changes everything. I think, especially for those of us, I mean, who entered into marriage hoping that this was going to be forever and this is going to be my family. I mean, it was rebuilding time, right?
yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed the process of dating again for the first
Mhm.
time since I was 20.
Wow. How was that? How was that different? I mean, are we even really dating when we're 20? We're like hooking up. We're not dating. We're not
I mean,
properly
I
dating,
think it
are we?
depends on the person. I think
Okay.
my background and how I was raised and my mindset was, I was very much just like, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to meet the person that's going to be my person, and we're going to get married and we're going to have babies and da 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 da. Very traditional in that sense. And so I didn't have a lot of, I mean, number one, I spent like all of my adolescence like scared to death of boys, like being like
Mhm.
intensely intrigued, starting with Bruce Springsteen in like 1986, but always being like terrified. So I wasn't really like a date around kind of gal. I was looking for like the
The
solid thing.
one. You were
Yeah,
looking for the
totally.
one.
So I didn't date a lot. So when I was 38, or no,
Ah.
37, and
Ah.
single for the first time in, 17 years, I needed to learn how to date and learn like, what do I really like? Who am I really attracted to? What am I really looking for? Um,
Were you
and I mean,
scared? Were you scared? Like, I get
no.
scared imagining it. You were not scared.
No, because
That's because you were ready.
I
You
am
were
too
ready.
novelty seeking as a temperament. I probably should have been more worried. Like, I just wanna be clear. I
No,
probably should
I
have been a
love the
lot more concerned.
courage. I
And
love
I
the
mean,
courage.
and it was, I mean, it took me a few months before I was like, "Oh, wow, this is like a who's who of dysfunction." I mean, you are scrolling and
Yeah.
swiping, and it is interesting.
It is its own
But
subculture for sure.
yes, absolutely. But I actually had a lot of fun, and I was able
Mhm.
to kind of tune into these parts of myself. Like when I wasn't parenting, I was re-engaging in my professional life, re-engaging in my friendships, re-engaging in my curiosities and my hobbies, and then re-engaging in like what it means to find a partner and date and
Mhm.
enjoy dating. And so after a couple years of doing that, I met my now husband. So I met him like 3 weeks before lockdown in 2020,
Oh my gosh.
which is great timing, let me tell you.
Whoa.
Um, and he was super newly separated from his wife and had 2 very, very little kids. So I had been parenting, for like a decade and a half. I had a high schooler at this point, and then a grade schooler, and I met him, and he came with a newly 2 and newly 4-year old, both boys.
Wow. Wow. So totally different stages of parenting.
Completely different stages of parenting,
Yeah.
and we did what many, many step families do, but no clinical research indicates is healthy, which is we moved extremely quickly and we blended families like inside of a year. We moved in together in just barely a year after knowing each other,
Yeah.
and had a wedding in the backyard a couple months after that. So, and I will say, to get back to like what put me into this work, as a therapist who has always considered themselves like curious, always willing to learn, pretty self-aware, um, and it's just so, man, it's just so humbling to say this out loud. I really thought I have all the information and skills that I need to make this family work. Number one, how wrongheaded that I was like, I can totally be the one. I'm like
Mm.
barely including my husband in this equation mentally in my mind. I'm like, because I'm that good. It's a
Also,
bad
historically,
family
how
trend.
much are they actually doing it?
No, absolutely not. There was so much hubris of like, I have the skills to carry all of your deficits and
Oh.
all of the regular variables of what it means to have a complicated family dynamic, and we can do it. I read not a single book
Mm.
about step family dynamics. This is
And
so cute.
it's
It's
so
very
hard.
humbling to say this
Yeah.
out loud.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's
and
honest, and I feel like a lot of us, especially like therapists, teachers, people that are in the helping industry, we
yes.
do feel like we gots it, and a lot of people expect us to gots it, but we're human
Mhm.
too. And
Yeah.
so I appreciate you like bringing that to the conversation, because don't be putting us on any pedestals, honeys, because we are your average, ordinary hot mess express.
Yeah.
We just really like to like we want to help people in this specific way.
Mhm. Yeah, it's totally true. And I think, despite my training and despite my background, um, I still was a woman in love, like every woman in love who enters into a new relationship. I mean, and this is so common for couples in a step family unit. You are in love, you are hopeful, you are optimistic, and it's really easy to think that we can take our senses of love and hope and optimism and somehow bypass the difficulty that is actually baked into step family dynamics, which are uniquely different from first time family dynamics. And that, after about the first 8 months of living in, I wouldn't say it was hell, but it was pretty hard. I mean, the
Wow.
kids were really struggling. I mean, we had kids across all different age groups. We had a high schooler, we had an elementary schooler, we had a toddler who was just barely potty trained, and a preschooler. And
Wow.
they were all showing up struggling in different ways. He and I were not on the same page with our parenting styles. We had very different ideas of what it meant to um, discipline, to give time to each other. And we were trying to form a couple culture together in the midst of parenting.
Mm.
So after about 9 months of wanting to like pull our hair out, um, we went to counseling, which was step 1, which was beautiful.
Yeah,
Started seeing a great marriage therapist who, like, she had my number, she had his number, she was calling us on our stuff real quick
I
and
love it.
helped us bring the temperature down. The gap, though, was that she didn't know anything about step family dynamics. And so I had to start doing more work by myself. And that's when I found this huge body of research that's available around what we know actually works in step family dynamics. 40 years ago, we had very little information about step families and what works and what doesn't. Now we have a lot of info, but that info has not really translated into really good training of helping professionals. And so, in the process of doing this work with my own family, I just felt so passionately driven to start really nestling my own training and focus into this area, because we have like 40% of marriages right now include children from prior relationships. So step family dynamics are not going anywhere. And so we really owe it to people to be giving them the tools that they need to make it work.
Yes. Oh my gosh, girl. Okay, so and I'm just like I'm imagining like you in love, putting ourselves in her position. You're in love in a total shitstorm.
Mhm.
Like it's just like so much more complicated. So, when was your first like humble like, "Oh, I don't got this?" And that's also kind of a pattern that you see many step families struggle with, that you can maybe shed some light on and give us some tools around today.
Absolutely. So I'll give you, one example. I mean, I think I came into the relationship with my own kids, so I knew what it meant to give myself over to parenting. I knew that. And I'm a pretty attuned parent. I care about quality time and paying attention to what my kids need emotionally and logistically and empathizing and all that. Like all that shit.
All that
Anyway,
jazz.
all that. Um, And even though I had that own felt experience with my own kids, I would find myself feeling um pretty like forgotten about and not taken care of during certain moments where my partner would turn away from me and disconnect from me to connect with his kids. And I'll give you like a perfect example of
Oh
it.
my gosh, yes.
And this is a challenge that every step family faces, which is every parent finds themselves as a stuck insider, stuck between their partner and their children. And every step parent, whether or not you have kids, can feel like a stuck outsider, right?
Mm.
This is huge.
Oh my gosh, girl, I have heard so many clients in my office talk about this exact phenomena.
Mhm.
Keep going, keep going.
Yeah. So I'll tell you like my a personal story and then we can
Okay.
talk about it more broadly. So, you know, uh I'm pretty domestic. I care. I'm like doing the cooking. Do every weekend we would have a ritual, we still do, where on Friday, he and the boys are Jewish, so on Friday night we light the Shabbat candles, we have a little challah, and either Saturday or Sunday morning I always make challah French toast. Like that is
Aw,
our routine, and it is
yeah.
like a lovely routine.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's
it's great, right?
beautiful.
Yeah, it's good to have like, slowly create your step family culture stuff. So here's the deal though. At this point, it's like a Sunday morning. We've probably been together like in living under the same roof for like 6 to 8 months. Um, and we have had all kids in the house at this point, all four of them for like 4 days straight. It's Sunday morning. I feed all the children, get them like settled. We're finally sitting down, my husband and I, in our little coffee nook with our French toast and our coffee. And I just want to talk to him about stuff.
Yeah.
We just want to connect with each other. But we have 3 and 5 year olds who are really not great at keeping themselves occupied. And every 5 minutes, they are running back into the room, jumping on his body. His coffee is almost spilling. I want to show you my Legos. I want to show you this drawing. Look at this. I added a mustache to the man. Now I added a hat to the man that I drew. And he is just giving full attention back to the kids every time they want tiny things. And I am boiling
Yeah.
because all I can think of in this moment is I just gave so much to this family. I got up, I didn't sleep in. I'm making French toast. I think to buy the challah the days before the weekend so that we're all set up. And then the least you could do is give me our time. Like, why is it that everything has to go back to the kids?
Mm.
Stuck outsider.
Wow.
Meanwhile, my husband sees me. He sees me just like boiling with
Yeah.
anger or like me just like holding back tears because I just feel overlooked, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
he is feeling totally stuck inside. If I turn towards my wife
Mm.
right now, I'm going to be turning away from my kids. And what happens then? And they might hurt. And if I turn towards my kids, which is what I am, by the way, biologically wired to do, totally
Totally.
then
Totally.
I am turning away from my wife, my new wife, who
Oh,
we do not have the history that I have with these kids, right? So
totally.
this is a super common problem that all step
Yeah.
families face. And we had, and the key is for all couples learning how to like normalize that this dynamic is so real
Yeah.
and learn how to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because also, I'm like layering into that moment, which I think we can just so resonate with. Like, sometimes, and I would love to hear just your like clinical take on this and just like your friend take on it too. But like, I have honestly found myself at times jealous
Mhm.
of the attention my daughter, who I share with my husband,
Yeah.
okay, because she's getting what I
Mhm.
didn't get growing up. I have an incredible dad, but this is a different generation of fatherhood. And so,
Mhm.
on the one hand, I love that I picked a man who's attuned and involved. And I think every day about the problems that my daughter won't have because she has her dad as her biggest fan. And she's also a Leo. She runs him, bro. She owns him. She owns him.
I love
And I know when in that moment I get triggered, Alex, and I know I
this.
have this self-awareness to know the little girl in me is the one that's jealous. And then the like higher self is like, but I also do deserve some undivided attention. And
Mhm.
there's an abundance of love to go around. And then the clinical self is like, is this normal? You know, like judging me, judging him, judging her. She's going to be a psycho. So it's just like, I feel like it makes it even more complicated when you layer in like our needs and what were met and what was not met as a child.
Oh, yes. I completely agree. And I can think about this like in two ways. I mean, number one, this dynamic that you're describing, like your coupledom, like with a shared kid, is also really real,
Yeah.
right? Because like we we're also wired for the people that we are attached to. Like we're wired to hurt when we feel the break in connection. That's just
Yeah.
how it goes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The buffer for, two bio parents together is that you have the wired attachment towards your daughter that can kind of serve as a buffer of understanding, because you still have the compassion and wiring of like, I held this baby the second she came out of me. I know this
Totally.
baby, right?
And
So
that's a
you
shared experience.
also a shared
Our
experience.
love for her, our obsession with her, our protection is shared. When
Yes,
you're a step parent and you don't have that biology with the child. And
correct.
that is just something too that I feel like if we could have just named that without feeling so much effing judgment.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I think that it's so hard. And I think it kind of goes both ways. I think that step parents, especially women, and
Mhm.
men seem to do better with like a healthy detachment around what their role is in step parenting.
Yeah.
Women, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to feel um, fierce love for our stepkids in the same way that we feel fierce love for our biological kids. And if we don't feel that love, we feel so guilty. Also, our male partners tend to, and I think this is a lot of like, gender norm stuff here that's working, expect women, step parents, to love their kids just as much. And actually, this kind of goes both ways. It happens a lot where like parents really have a hard time understanding why step parent partners don't feel the warmth and gentleness. I mean, it is universal that step parents want their parent partners to lead with more firmness and rules and limits. And it is universal that bio parents want their step parent partner to lead with more warmth and flexibility and openness.
Oh,
So it
I
kind
can
of
see
speaks
it.
to all that stuff, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
I also think that what you're saying about like this old wounding stuff, my mentor, Patricia Papernow, she is just one of the thought leaders and researchers when it comes to step family dynamics. And she coined Papernow's bruise theory, which is this:
Mm.
like, if I punch you in the arm, it's gonna hurt. But if I were to punch you in a place where you already have a deep bruise, oh, it's going to hurt, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
when you tell me about these like childhood woundings that are already there, they're real for you and they're very real for step parents. When they feel that old wounding come up from unresolved stuff, it's real and it's intense. And then the work, and this is the work that couples struggle to do but can certainly learn to do, is to really develop like a deeper understanding for what you each really need. Like, what does it look like to be able to see your partner needing that love? And maybe you're not going to drop everything with the kids right now and shift your focus, but as soon as the kids go, you're going to come over to them and like give them a hug, give them a kiss, give them like that pat on the shoulder of like, I'm here, I see you, I know, you know?
Mm.
And what does it look like for you who feels that stuck outside feeling or that turned away from feeling to learn how to find your partner and ask for what you need from the place of your functional adult and not from the wounded child place of either like passive aggression or being really bitchy or being really, leading with anger, right? Because that's not going to
Totally.
help us either. And I wish I could say didn't learn that the
Yeah,
hard way.
we've tried those methods. They don't work so awesome. So
Correct.
with the
Mhm,
coffee nook challah French toast scenario,
mhm.
what do we do? What do we do in that moment?
Yeah. What we do in that moment is, well, in the moment, you take a breath. And I think it's usually when you feel that like whoosh of like, for me, it always feels like the tightness in my throat, like the bottom dropping out of me. Like all
Mm.
of a sudden, I feel like, I don't know, am I going to have diarrhea right now? I feel like crap, right?
Shit my pants.
Right?
I'm either
Of
gonna
just like,
scream at you or
I,
I'm gonna
and
shit.
it's really connected, like for a lot of us, to like the feeling of being left or lonely, right? And it
Okay.
is, I'm gonna take a breath. And I'm gonna remember that we're a family in process and I'm going to have room to ask for my needs to get met. And it's really on me because I'm the adult in the room, not the kids. It's
Yeah.
on me to find the right opportunity to ask to get those needs met, right? Because they
Mm,
certainly deserve to be met. And we have to work this out. Right?
yeah.
Because we don't wanna start, I mean, we don't want to find ourselves in a position where we're having, like, another failed marriage. It's hard enough.
Yeah.
We feel all the guilt and all the shame around what didn't work and what was broken the first time, and and I think, like, that's also what propels so many of us to, like, react in a big and unhelpful way because we feel, like, the gravity and the weight of, like, "Oh my gosh, there's so much riding on this working." I just want to make it work, you
Oh
know?
my gosh. That pressure can
Mhm.
really mess things up too. Let's go off on that tangent. Okay, wait, hold on. I have one more question to the prior scenario and then we're going to go off on the pressure because you don't want to have another quote unquote failed marriage.
Mhm.
So, in that moment, we're going to just let it unfold and we're going to breathe. And then later, when we're regulated, we're going to make sure that we express and communicate our needs. Is it even realistic to think that we're going to have uninterrupted or attunement from our partner in a context like that? Because I feel like I still struggle with that, Alex, and my daughter is 8. Like,
Yeah.
I think we both feel bad being like, this is mommy and daddy time. But when we never, ever, ever do that, then I end up feeling, forgotten, less
Yes.
important, like I don't matter. So, like,
Yes.
what's healthy here? What's, the wide range of normal?
So, and this is kind of like another one of the big, I think like in our notes we talked about the idea of like what are the traps that step families fall into. I think
Yes.
one of the big traps that step families fall into is kind of the challenge around like how things are aligned in terms of like, well, wait a second, is the relationship supposed to come first, the partnership, or are the kids supposed to come first? And depending on who you talk to, you can get very, very different answers. Now, what we know, and this is also kind of a place where like it differs a lot from first time families. In first time marriages, you know, it's the prevailing work, especially around in like the prevailing thought anyway, around in like in couples therapy, for example, is that the relationship comes first. We are going to attend to the relationship. And if the relationship is secure, the kids will follow. Well, that doesn't work in a step family relationship, right? And the
Mm.
idea, it's basically like you have to uphold both as being incredibly important. Kind of like if you picture like a gymnast, like a guy on the rings, like where they're kind of
Mm.
holding onto the rings, like you don't want to like let anyone go. You have to be
Mm.
holding tension to both,
It's
which sounds
so
like a lot of
hard.
pressure, and it kind of is.
Yeah.
The challenge is we uphold the importance of both. I am looking to connect with my partner. I value the connection and building and maintaining that relationship. And I look to attune to our kids, because if either one is insecure for too long, things are going to fall apart. And I will say this, I think that, you know, this kind of comes into play. Like now we're kind of getting into the idea of like parenting styles a little bit because, you know, if we are parenting in a way that is really permissive, so really, really warm and connected and empathic and responsive to kids, but permissive with like low boundaries, um, we're not going to do well with our kids overall. Kids don't thrive really on the other side. There's a lot of research around this. Kids thrive best with a mix of empathic, connected responsiveness and warmth, and a lot of firm, like moderately firm limits and expectations that are developmentally appropriate and necessary to get these kids to maturity. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, a way to talk about this, like in a step family dynamic, might be like we call it like the soft, hard, soft method, which is like, hey, um, Jack, that's my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Jack, I know this time with the boys is so important. I know you look forward to Sunday mornings to connect. Um, and I gotta tell you, in moments like this where over and over they just get your attention immediately and you just drop our conversation, I end up feeling so lonely.
Yeah.
I really do. And I'm just wondering if you can think about how to do this with more balance so that the kids feel seen and also I don't feel dropped,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
It's really like we're leading from our feelings, we're speaking to our experience, we're not accusing anybody of anything, we're not, speaking to his motivations and intentions and calling him a sucker
Yeah.
or calling the kids spoiled brats. We're not doing any of that stuff so we can like heighten defensiveness right
Oh yeah, we're
away.
not. We're sure not. We're sure
But
not.
yeah, and the truth of the matter is like there's got to be a little bit of buy-in from your partner, and this is true
Yeah.
whether or not you're a first-time family, right? Of like
Yeah.
buy-in around like, okay, we may have slightly differing parent styles, but how can we honor that? Like, and
Yeah.
what does it look like to get move more towards each other, um so that like kids learn loving discipline and feel connected to, and but not at the cost of our relationship,
Totally.
right?
And we're modeling for them that this adult relationship matters. Like you still matter, but me connecting to mom or me connecting to dad, that is also important. And I want you to know that because I want you to have that standard in your relationships as a grown up that you deserve time,
Totally.
attention, care, attunement. I
Yes.
just feel like I think the step family thing just adds so many layers that make it so complicated. And then I think with I don't know, what do you call the non step families? But when your biology says protect my kid at all costs. Okay, so
Mhm.
this is how I'm going to verbalize it. I don't know what this says about me or my attachment style or my parenting style, but I am naturally more drawn to connection with and protection to my kids
Mhm.
than my partner. And we had a unique situation because my husband entered when it was me and Camden and I was a single mom
Yes.
and I was 22. So
Mhm.
I'm like learning from you right now. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish I would have had this information and these tools back then. Like, because I think some of the bad habits we have as a unit now are because I set that tone back then of like, it's me and Camden against the world, boo boobs. And like, you're
Yep.
joining the party and I got to take care of this kid. And it's all on me to take care of this kid.
Mhm.
And so now it's like, I think biologically, we both are like drawn to protect the child. And I'm using protect very like vaguely, like just giving her the attention for the 15,000th time of the hour.
Yeah.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
just, we don't want to hurt her feelings and make her feel rejected.
Mhm.
And so it's like, I can see how having that tendency is kind of been chipping away at the marriage, at the relationship. And so I feel like someone like me has to go out of her way to like try that and learn that and prioritize that, because it's not as natural as it is for me to connect with child.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, it is really tricky. And
Yeah.
for those of us who have been through single parent phases, it does create a realign like an alignment
Mm.
where, I mean, and this is also really, really common, where in those single parenting years, kids end up getting more agency and decision making than
Mm.
they would ever normally get in
Wow.
a first time family structure. Things like, hey, what do you want to do this weekend? Where are we going to go to dinner tonight? Where do you want to go for vacation this summer? These are the kind of conversations that typically adults are having together and then delivering the information to kids of like, well, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. These are our plans, right? And also parents tend to, because they only have their kids for a limited amount of time in single parenting, shared custody worlds, I don't necessarily want to do a lot of disciplining. I don't necessarily
You
want to
want to
bring down the
spoil
hammer.
them.
I want to, yeah, I want
Yeah.
to have them
You want to
close. I
love
want
on
to feel
them.
good.
Yeah.
And so then like things get more permissive.
Mm-hmm.
Then we remarry, repartner, our step parent comes in and they're like, wait a second, the alignment here is so weird. Like it is off balance. And so
Mm.
then when parents try to like turn to their new, partner and start making plans, depending on the age of the kids can get hella mad about that,
Yeah.
especially if you've got
Oh.
kids that are like 8, 9, 10, and then like into early teens.
Oh yeah.
They're used to being consulted on decisions. And if all of a sudden mom and stepdad are the ones making decisions, there's going to be a lot of reactivity there. Or conversely, if mom and kids are still the ones making the decisions, stepdad's like, wait a second,
Do I
where
matter?
am I in this? Why am I here? Right. So there is, I mean,
Yes.
ultimately, in step for successful step families, they are going to have to work towards a realignment away from child led decision making and back towards adult led decision making. I think like
Oh, that sounds so hard. How do we
it
do that?
is.
How do we do? Can you just give us one step? Because I'm sure there's like a whole process that you
Mhm.
support couples through.
Well, I would
But
say it has to be led by the biological parent. This is one of the biggest struggles, I think, is that step parents want to come in and start commanding discipline and changing how kids are parented. And the problem is because of the fact that like these kids are not biologically wired to see you, the step parent, as an authority figure and their primary attachment, it doesn't go well. It
totally.
actually slows down the blending process. And what I see all the time and work with couples through, and this also happens in first time families or, couples that share biological kids, by the way, this is not new, is we have one partner who is over functioning and we have one partner who is under functioning.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of work on like, what is it? I mean, I can speak to my own process on this one.
Yeah.
I had been parenting 3 times as long as he had been parenting. And again, like an ass, I'm like, I know what these kids need. I know what's best for everybody. I know how we can realign. I can take charge and fix all this.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
great. Worked out very well.
Easy, easy,
Um,
easy.
it didn't work. It made the
Yeah.
kids more anxious and stressed. It made
Mm.
him resentful. And he parented less because I was trying to step in and make that realignment happen. And what actually worked was for me to take a step back, start to relook at like what my role as a step parent actually needed to be for now.
Yeah.
And that created the void where then my husband saw like, oh yeah, these kids are being turds. This is uncomfortable. I'm going to parent this now. But when I was the one who was like noticing first and then rushing in to fix, it mostly just put him on the defense and made him more protective of the kids instead
Yeah.
of stepping up to parenting like he needed to. So it's a really tricky thing to like nurture the really important, respectful, and vulnerable conversations of what do we really want to see together in our household and where are we each needing to step up or step back for that to
Mm.
happen.
Yes. Okay. Those last two questions were really important. We're having an honest, not charged or triggered conversation about what each of us wants to see in our household and where we need to step up or step back.
Mhm. And I think that no matter what your family formation is, I think in your partnership, like, that is sometimes a really important conversation to have.
Oh, that feels relative to every single couple,
Mhm.
period. Okay. Um that was so good. I feel like so many women listening are like, I have some things to consider here. I have some things to consider and I have some things to get clear on and talk to my partner about.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the pressure,
Mhm.
right? So it's like this has to work. And then I'm like thinking about your unique situation where you're getting together right before lockdown and you
Mhm.
have four children at such differing ages. And this has to work, right? What does that do to the dynamic? And how do we untangle from that pressure?
Well, I think, like, if we're speaking to the core message of, I think, your podcast and your entire business around like the unperfect thing, like, let's get unperfected. I
Hmm.
think this is the place where I think a lot of us as women entering in just feel so much pressure, right? Is like, we want to show up well. We want to be a great partner, and we want to be an amazing step parent or parent and adjust our kids and our stepkids perfectly through this whole process. And it's really hard to feel the moments when it's not working, and either not double down and work like three times as hard to try to overcompensate or fix everything and everybody. And it's also hard to not like do the opposite of just like throw your hands up and just be like, forget it. Like, well, this was a mistake, you know?
Yes, yes.
Um, and I think the feeling that I think a lot of women do tend to carry, I mean, is that feeling of like, it's on me to do the fixing.
Mm,
It's on me to, there's so, when I look at the resources that are available for step families, so much of it is marketed directly towards women and stepmoms. And
interesting.
on one hand, I
Mm,
thoroughly get it, because that's the market that is reading the books on social media, looking for resources, etc., on the Facebook message boards of step parents and da 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 da.
yep.
The problem is when we are creating, like, but when all of the resources are geared towards stepmoms,
Mm,
it is still sending this quiet implication that it's women's job
mm,
to show up and do all the fixing. And
mm.
that feels inherently unproductive
Yeah,
to me.
impossible. It feels
Yes.
impossible.
Yeah. So I think if we're gonna really address the pressure, then we need to see this as a both and. Like, this is a partner us together thing to fix. And, giving people the language to learn to like really come to each other. I mean, it's kind of like, look, like, we're like the joint CEOs of this business,
Yes,
right? So,
yes,
like, it can't just be one of us that's showing up to meetings. I've got like, we need to be extending to each other the invitation to like sit down at the table and like, let's act like this is ours together. Like, no one is owning this,
right, right.
you know? So I think
Yeah.
like that can help ease some of the pressure.
Yeah, it's on both of us. Well, and I feel like a lot of step parents will be quick to question, like you said, have I made a mistake? Or they blame the relationship, like this isn't meant to be because it's so hard with the kids. And I'm like, not necessarily. Like it really is. I mean, I just tell clients, I'm like, it really is this hard.
Yeah.
Like you're not a fuck up. It's actually this hard. Like
Yeah.
it's really hard.
Well, yeah, it is really hard, but like, here's the thing. Anything that's worth anything in life, like
Totally.
any really
Totally.
good, vulnerable, intensely intimate relationship, is full of pain. we have to also invite in the presence of pain, because that's like the price of admission to a ton of intimacy and vulnerability and closeness and connectedness. We cannot bypass pain in relationships that are close. Um,
Totally.
and they are work, because our childlike young parts that never have gotten their needs met are always going to be the loudest in our intimate relationships, even more
Mm,
so in step family relationships. And so it's all of our jobs then to figure out how to navigate it, because at the end of the day, like, you can leave the marriage, you can leave the relationship and try to start over. But guess what? Your child parts are not going anywhere. They're still going to come right back into the next relationship, probably in a slightly different way. And you're still going to find yourself having to dig deep and do the work. So, what are you going to do?
totally. And what's your take on doing the deep inner work, the inner child work while in relationship? Because I hear people wanting to be healed before they enter. And I'm like, oh, that's where, like, dude, in relationship is where we do the work. I want to hear your take on that.
Yeah. I mean, to me, like, the parallel is this. Um, The best treatment for obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, is what we call exposure response prevention. It's exposure therapy. You learn how to move through your phobic thoughts and compulsions by doing the thing that elicits the phobic thoughts and compulsions.
Yep.
Similarly, in a parallel, um, I'm not saying that's not a great idea to go to therapy and talk about your childhood when you're still single and
Totally.
looking, but let me tell you, it is in intimate relationship where we are triggered, where all of the difficult stuff comes up and is evoked. And that's when we do the rich work of change, right? Like, you're not going to feel intensely triggered around your childhood woundings and feeling like left or abandoned when you're on your own. You're going to feel it when your partner does something dumb, you know,
Totally.
either with just
Totally.
in general or like with their kids instead of you or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
A
So, like,
hundred
no, this
percent.
is like the work of attachment is done in relationship.
Totally.
I agree.
So much stuff comes up. What is your take on in in a blended family, mom still having private time with her kids, dad still having private time with his kids? Are you a yay or nay or somewhere in the middle? I'd love to hear your take on that.
Both are incredibly important, especially in the early years. It's incredibly important that parents are having one on one time with each of their kids.
Mhm.
Trying to have too much intense all together time is usually pretty unproductive.
Why? But
And
that's what I feel like we all try to do. We try to, like, we're building a family, so we always need to be together. And then I feel like it causes even more chaos and confusion to the alignment
Mhm.
in the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did that. We 100% made this mistake. I had a lot of feelings that, like, if we did too much stuff apart, we were going to end up as these two like family
Families.
sets, just like
Yes.
ships passing in the night and not
Yes.
have any unity. So in the beginning, I was much more insistent that we do a lot of stuff together. It actually just created a lot of stress for me, for my husband, and for the kids. And we have since, course corrected on that, and we have dedicated like, when we think about our weekend, we think about, like, when are we going to have all of us together time, and it's going to be probably around some meals, but then, or like family pizza and movie night all together. um and we'll find a movie that all these kids want to watch together, which is a whole other
Age 3
situation.
to
Yeah.
16, no
But
problem.
also, I'll go run errands with my 13-year-old, and we'll, like, grab a
Yeah.
cup of coffee while we're doing it, and he's gonna go and run the boys to the playground or to the soccer game, and I don't have to be at every soccer game. I come to some, but I don't have to go to all of them to be a step parent that they see as present and interested, because guess what? When there's soccer games, guess who's already there? Their dad and their actual mom. cheering them on, plenty of presents. These kids are seen and taken care of. Whether I'm there or not doesn't make a huge difference.
I feel like
But
we need to hear that though, because we don't
Mhm.
allow ourselves that. We feel like someone's keeping score and I need to be at everything to be a legit step parent. And so that's massive what you're saying right now.
Yeah, I think that, like, thinking about what's good for the group and what's good for you and doing a little bit of back and forth. Um, you show up when it makes sense to show up. And I am kind of like, I'm like, for every two that I miss, I show up to one because let me tell you, there's a million games.
Ugh.
So I'm not missing much. And if I miss the game, like for example, I see other times, and this is also really important for step families too, for step parents to have one-on-one time with their step kids. I love the days that my husband is taking the oldest to soccer practice and I get to be at the house with the youngest, and it happens to be a
Mm,
day that my daughter isn't home,
mm.
and we sit on the couch and we're working through Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory together. And it's like our
Oh.
special time and it's great. And it's one of the few moments that I actually have his attention because his other two favorite people aren't home.
Yes. Oh my god,
Right?
I and that little moment feels like that little moment is enough connection for a
Yes.
stretch of time. It's about that quality, not quantity, right?
Exactly, exactly. So, like, I can be like, "We had our 20 minutes together, but they were a freaking awesome 20 minutes." And then, like, he doesn't care that I, like, saw him score that goal this time, right? I do
Totally.
not have to be all things to all people to be just okay.
Oh my god. Louder for the queen in the back. I do not have to be all things. And that's why I think this is so hard is we're already perfectionists and then you layer in this blended family and we similar to any family, we have no idea what the hell we're doing. But we
Exactly.
but we expect that we have it all figured out and that it's perfect. And when anything falls short, we shame ourselves. So,
Mhm.
okay, so you actually have a group coming up, don't you? Where you're
We do.
supporting Okay, so share with us your group and then how people can connect with you. And I have got to have you back because we didn't even discuss relationships with the exes
Oh my gosh.
and
Oh, I would
boundaries
love
around that, girl.
that.
That's a whole nother chapter that we do need to talk about.
Because it's one of the core challenges that all step families have to deal with. Absolutely. Yes.
Totally. And there's actually just so much more I want to pick your brain on because you're a wealth of knowledge personally and professionally
Thanks,
in this
girl.
matter. All right, so tell us about your group. Tell me what you guys are going to do in the group and when it starts and all that jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. So in my coaching practice, I see people in Colorado in person. I also see people on a national level virtually. I see people one on one, do like individuals or couples together. I also, because I just feel so strongly that people need to get in community with one another and know that they are not alone in the challenges that they're facing. I just launched a fall step family coaching group cohort, and that's going to be starting October 22nd. And
Mm.
it's going to be on Wednesdays, like every other Wednesday, for until mid December. And it's going to be a really lovely combination of learning some core education around what we know that step families need to do well together, and also a lot of in the moment coaching, people being able to bring in specifically what is happening with their family right now in real time and getting feedback from me, and also having the benefit of, again, hearing each other's stories and getting real support and knowing that they are absolutely not alone.
And
I
they're
think
not the only ones who feel like they're messing it all up.
correct, correct. And so registration is still open for that. I'm doing two different cohorts, one as a midday cohort and one as an evening cohort.
Nice.
I'm keeping them both small because I really want this to be good, intentional community. But the registration is open. People can go to my website, which is www.justkeepitgoin, not going, just keep it going.com. That you can also connect with me on Instagram. I'm at Alex Harrison LCSW. And yeah, you can drop
We'll
me a
link all
DM.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to link everything in the show notes, but I feel like your group feels really juicy. Like it's so needed. And that's why I wanted to like get you on the show right away because I mean, I can think of
Yeah.
3 clients right now that are in need of this education and support. And so thank you for turning your pain into your medicine.
Hey, if what else are we going to do with it, right?
Thank you for turning your pain into your medicine. And thank you for taking the time to be on the show today. And we will for sure be having an encore conversation about how to talk and how to handle the exes.
It was absolutely my pleasure to be here, and I would love to come back anytime.
All right, girl. Well, have a good rest of your day. And to the beautiful listeners, take care of yourselves and therefore each other. And I will see you same time, same place next week. Bye for now.
Bye.
Hey, boo, if you made it this far, I know you're serious about healing, revealing, and rising, living a life unperfected. Just by showing up, you're telling the universe, I matter. I'm ready. So don't be surprised if things start shifting in your favor. If this episode moved you, do me a favor, rate and review the podcast on Apple or Spotify. It helps us reach more high-achieving, high-performing women who are ready to stop pretending and start living. And if something really landed, DM me on Instagram at BrookeJeanUnperfected or share a clip and tag me. I want to see what's moving through you. And hey, don't forget, you can watch this episode on YouTube and join my brand new VidMe membership for exclusive content, coaching, and community for only $35 a month. We're not just talking about rising, we're doing it together.